Hello and welcome to an informational webinar about the Student Arts Scholarship Program offered by the Central Minnesota Arts Board. We are the Regional Arts Council for Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, and Wright counties. Our mission is investing in the arts, which we do through a variety of grant programs and services, including the Student Arts Scholarship. My name's Leslie Hanlon, and I'm the Assistant Director for the Central Minnesota Arts Board. I help applicants connect with and navigate grant programs, and the purpose of today's session is to help you understand who's eligible to apply to the Student Art Scholarship and to give you a walkthrough of the application itself in our online grant system. The funding that Central Minnesota Arts Board awards comes from two primary places. The first is from the state of Minnesota. We receive an appropriation from Minnesota's General Fund as well as the Arts and Cultural Legacy Fund. That money then goes into grants and services throughout all of Minnesota, including Region 7W, which is our region. We also receive funds from the McKnight Foundation, and that funding is specifically invested into individual artists. The funding for the Student Art Scholarship Program comes through our State General Fund appropriation. Student Art Scholarships are awards of $2,000 to pay for tuition and fees related to a student pursuing their first undergraduate degree. That degree also needs to be in an arts-related field. Applicants can be just graduating from high school, or they can be individuals who graduated years ago but are now enrolled for their first undergraduate degree. Applicants must be full-time students and must be residents of Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, or Wright County. That doesn't mean the college you attend needs to be located within the 4 counties, but your permanent residence is within our region during the time that you are applying for and receiving student art scholarships. You may be attending school out of state or out of region, but things like the address on your driver's license or ID documents and where you're registered to vote stay within the region, indicating that this is where your permanent address is. Individuals may apply and receive up to 4 student art scholarships in a lifetime. We look at 2 primary criteria in evaluating student art scholarship applications. The first is the artistic merit and quality of the creative work that you make, produce, or engage in, and the second is your ability. In the artistic merit and quality section, you'll provide an artist statement and you'll upload work samples. Your work samples will be a very important part of how you'll demonstrate the artistic merit and quality of your work. One thing to consider about work samples is editing. If you haven't applied for a lot of grants or you're a young student artist, you may not have a lot of experience with editing down your work samples. If you have photos or images of paintings or videos of a dance recital, for example, ask for input from peers and teachers about which are the strongest examples for you to include. Do what you can to ensure that the work samples that you submit are of high quality. If you're a painter, it's important that we're able to see your paintings without the glare of a glass covering it, for example. If you're a digital artist, you'll want to get a good sample that demonstrates your use of color quality and saturation. If you're an actor, you want a work sample where you can be clearly seen and heard, rather than a grainy video where reviewers have to question which person on stage is you. Your artist statement should help readers understand what you believe are the most important aspects of your work and the process or technique that you use to make it. Another thing to consider under artistic merit and quality is how the work samples and your artist statement relate to the arts field or degree that you're hoping to pursue. Maybe you want to become a graphic designer, but you haven't had a lot of experience making digital art. Consider what art skills you have learned that might help you as you're learning new skills related to the field that you're pursuing. Share that with reviewers. The second criteria is about your ability. Reviewers want to see evidence that the applicant has identified goals, and they'll be looking to see if you've chosen a school that aligns well with those goals. For example, perhaps you've decided to fully pursue theater. You'll want to give voice in your application about the strength of the theater program at the school you've chosen and how you know that. Maybe you're a saxophone player and there's an outstanding saxophonist on faculty at the school you're attending who you want to learn from. Ability can be demonstrated by grades, but it can also be demonstrated by your involvement in activities outside of your academics. Maybe you participated in a number of plays for the local theater company, or you played in the community band. Maybe you helped organize a mural project at your school. These are all examples that can help demonstrate ability for reviewers. Once the application deadline has passed, staff will review the applications to determine eligibility. Eligible applications will be sent to a volunteer panel who will review applications based on the criteria we just discussed. Each criteria has its own specific range of possible points. Those scores are totaled and then averaged and put in rank order. That ranking list is what our board of directors will use to determine which applications are funded. Applications need to score an average of 50% or higher in order to be considered for funding through this program. The board will make their funding decisions on April 11th, 2024, and applicants will be notified by email within 2 weeks of that date. If you're funded, there are some important pieces of information you'll want to watch for in that email. Scholarship recipients will need to sign an acceptance contract within 30 days of receiving notice of funding. In late summer, you'll also need to submit a confirmation of your registration for classes, your student ID number, and your transcripts. Once we receive these final pieces, we'll send the scholarship award directly to the college. Now we're going to jump into how to apply. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see an image of the CMAB website. That address is www.centralmnartsboard.org. We're going to cover two important sections of our website in this webinar, the Grants tab and the Manage Grants blue box that you'll see in the upper right-hand corner. The Grants tab is where you'll get information about all of our grant programs, including the Student Arts Scholarship. The Manage Grants blue box is where you'll access our online application system. The very first thing you're going to want to do is to read the program guidelines. You'll go to the Grants tab and then click For Artists and scroll down to the Student Arts Scholarship, where you'll find important information, including all of the dates associated with this program and the program guidelines. The guidelines will give you direction on everything that you'll need to apply, so it's a great starting place. When you're ready to apply, you'll click the blue Manage Grants box on the upper right-hand corner of the home page. This will take you to our online grant management system. If you've already created an account, you can log in with the email address and password you used before. Odds are, though, this is the first time you've applied and you'll need to create a new account. This system is used for both individuals and arts organizations, so it can be a little confusing if you're an individual applying for the first time. Pay attention to the instructions because they'll provide direction if you're confused. For the organization name, you'll enter your last name. For the tax ID number, you'll just enter the digits 12-3456789 as a placeholder. You'll only have to enter the information in the fields that are marked with an asterisk or with a star at the end, so fields like website or fax number can be left blank. For your street address, you'll use your permanent address that is located here in the 4-county region. This is part of how we determine eligibility and ensure you're located within our region. Be sure to use an email address that you access regularly because this is where we'll send award notifications. Once you've created your profile, you'll be able to log in. Your username will be your email address and your password will be whatever you entered while creating the profile. Once you log in, you'll see the applicant dashboard. You can always click the house icon at the top left next to our logo to return to this homepage. From this page, you can see information about previous grants you may have submitted, or you can start a new application. To start a new application, you'll click the Apply button at the top of the screen where you right now see a big blue arrow pointing to. This will open a page with all of our open grant programs. You'll scroll down until you find the Student Art Scholarship. You'll hit the blue Apply to the left, and that will open the Student Art Scholarship application. Once in the application, you'll have a section for the application content, which includes the sections where you'll attach your work samples, provide an artist statement, and such. Your artist statement should help readers understand what you believe are the most important aspects of your art and why you make it. You'll also need 3 references from people who are not related to you. We'll touch on these in more detail in just a moment. There will also be a data collection section. We're required to submit reports to the state, and this data section helps us meet that requirement. One thing to note here is if you are under 18 at the time that you apply, you'll need to have a parent or guardian submit their electronic signature when you complete the application. We discussed work samples at the beginning of this session, but here are some tips for helping to submit your best work. Select work samples that relate to your intended major. If you plan to major in theater, don't submit a work sample that demonstrates your visual art skills, for example, unless you can clearly connect the two. So if you're planning to major in scenic design, then perhaps it would make sense for one work sample to show your artistic skill. If you're submitting visual art samples, display only one image per page. Don't group multiple images on one page. The images become too small, and they sometimes can compete with each other rather than letting each piece speak for itself. As I mentioned before, try your best to get a work sample with decent audio or video quality. It will help reviewers really assess your skill. Pay attention to the size limits outlined in the guidelines for the different kinds of work samples. If you submit more than the limit, reviewers will be directed to only review what's outlined in the guide. For example, if you're a visual artist and you submit 8 images, reviewers will be directed to only review the first 5 images because that's what's outlined in the guidelines. But maybe you really wanted them to see the last 3. Be selective and choose only what you really want reviewers to see. If you submit a video that is longer than the allotted 7 minutes, leave instructions about which 7 minutes you want reviewers to watch in the description of your work sample. If you have multiple video samples that you'd like panelists to review, you can create a document with the links to the videos and upload that. Be sure to provide information in the description about which sections of each video you want panelists to review. Staff can help you prepare your work samples, so please reach out. We are happy to help. We also touched on references a little earlier, but let's talk about them in more detail. A complete application will include 3 references from people who are not related to you. These can be teachers, employers, or maybe the director you worked with for a community theater production. Try to select individuals who can speak to your skill and ability related to your stated major and goals as much as possible. Inside the application, you'll enter the email address for each reference, and a link will then be emailed to that individual so they can complete and send it back directly to the application. You don't have to provide them with any forms. It'll all be done through email, and you won't actually see the reference. You just need to have the current email address for the references, and you should ask them in advance so they know to expect this form. You'll want to confirm that your references are received and submitted before the deadline. We recommend that you confirm no later than February 6th. Applications that are submitted without the 3 completed reference forms will be ineligible, so we encourage you to be in communication with your references and with us to make sure that they've been received. Know that you can always request a draft review. If you have entered all your information into the application form at least 2 weeks prior to the deadline, You can request that staff review it and offer feedback and suggestions before you submit the application. That will give you time to edit your application based on that feedback. We'll happily check your work samples and descriptions as well as confirm that your references have been received. Remember that we're here to help. If you have questions along the way or need help figuring out how to upload your work samples, please give us a call or email us at the address you see on the screen. Thank you for watching this information session, and good luck with your application.